question, please.
Yes, there was no arrest, nor was there a citation given. So,
yes.
Unfortunately, your story was inaccurate.
Yes.
So that's about what I can tell you, is that there was a issue with the tag. It was not registered to that vehicle. The officer pulled over the vehicle to determine why that tag was not supposed to be on that vehicle. It would seem to be the newly purchased used car. So there seemed to be a mix-up with the tag.
Yes.
The individual was allowed to go on.
The individual being a woman driver. And of course, now it is an arrest, Scott, because an arrest is when the member of the public has every reason to believe that he or she is not free to go and is detained by the officer. So it was an arrest because arrest, of course, means stop. And she pulled over after crossing the dam because the disguised private cruiser behind her was flashing blue lights at her. So it was an arrest. She was stopped, but she was not taken into custody.
It was a stop. It was not an arrest where you are taken to jail.
You mean to the magistrate? She was not taken to the magistrate or the jail and booked or fingerprinted and forced to make bond. But she was arrested. I mean, she wasn't taken into custody in the jail, but she was arrested because she was stopped. Right?
I'm sorry. I would have to disagree with that. But what's next, David?
Okay. Well, listen, I do appreciate your filling in the gaps there. So there was a tag. Now, how is it that that the officer in question, Scott Stone, noticed this tag? What was he doing to make notice of a tag, and why did he chase after her? This TVA officer.
This was he saw a plate that seemed funny. Also, there was a window that was broken out, so it seemed like the expiration date was inaccurate.
You mean the car tag had expired? Is that what he saw?
On the tag.
The tag was a 2016 tag or a June 2017 expiry tag, you're saying?
I'm saying it looked like there was an issue with the tag, and he just checked into it, and now everything is fine.
So what prompted him to say, this is a car I'm going to chase after and not somebody else, maybe not my listener? A broken window?
I don't understand your question.
Well, he couldn't read the tag beforehand.
He's a federal law enforcement officer charged with the duty to protect the public. Now, if you don't want our police officers to protect the public, is that what you're trying to say?
Well, I'm asking what kind of protection of the dam or of facilities that this officer is charged with doing, how that was in line with this traffic stop. Scott Fiedler, TVA spokesman. How does chasing after this motorist?
Well, they're charged with the public safety mission. But also, I mean, I just have to also ask you: are we being recorded? Because
sir, we are live on the air.
To record me.
We are live on the air, sir. I'm not recording you right now, but you are live on the air. Okay, but which means that there's a file kept of our interview. Okay.
Well, I've gone on record.
Well, the question is, Scott Fiedler, how does TVA have authority to enforce Title 55 of the Tennessee Code on the public right away, which is not federal jurisdiction?
Well, that public right of way is on the reservation.
What does that mean?
Was it on the Chickamauga Bridge?
He crossed your officer crossed, chasing after this woman in her car with her family. He crossed Thrasher Bridge into Hickson, which is over a federal dam. Right, it's over a federal dam. So you're saying, well, that was my question Saturday, was how far past the dam is federal jurisdiction? And your answer Saturday was, well, TVA has jurisdiction to enforce some kind of law in 7 states, which means even in Saudi days at my stop sign, if I run that stop sign, you indicated Saturday, I could be charged by a TVA officer who might just happen to be there.
Well, if there is a public safety issue, our law enforcement officers are law enforcement. So if there is a public safety issue now, that you're doing something that could harm the public, they have a duty to protect the public. And
how can a broken window in a somewhat rundown car be a threat to the public? And how is that TVA's concern? How is that TVA's concern?
This straight for the listeners.
Go ahead.
Come on, David. Let's get this absolutely
Go
straight.
ahead.
The tag on the vehicle was not there registered for that car. All right.
And how is anybody on the highway threatened by that? And the threat being alleviated, as we're discussing here, by a TVA officer? How is a coal burning utility concerned about Title 55 of the Tennessee Code and people traveling over its dams on a state bridge, on a state highway? The question is jurisdiction. How does your agency have jurisdiction to assist the county sheriff or the city police in traffic and transportation enforcement? Is it by agreement? Where's jurisdiction attached?
Federal.
Yeah, but we're not. We're on the land here. We're not on the sea. You have maritime and admiralty jurisdiction. How is it that admiralty jurisdiction officers are enforcing state law against private people such as that couple and their child in the red restrainer seat? Scott Fiedler.
David, we all know. Come on. Now, this is on TVA. It was one across TVA property, right? Public lands.
It was over the dam.
In addition, yes, TVA law enforcement have a public safety mission.
But there's no restraint on jurisdiction. You're saying anywhere in the county, anywhere in the city, Saudi Daisy, Red Bank, Ottawa, that a federal officer can come and arrest my listener for an out-of-date tag, or
there was no arrest. Don't confuse that.
It was an arrest because it was a stop, and the person in the car was not free to leave. The person in the car was not free. Okay, but you say it's not an arrest. I say it was an arrest. Let's call it a stop. That's your terminology. It is a transportation stop. All right, but how, again?
Traffic stop.
The traffic stop, right, in commerce, in transportation. So the question is, though, how does that further the interest of the Tennessee Valley Authority, which is a coal burning and nuclear plant operating utility? How does the coal burning utility care about Title 55 and traffic and commerce regulation? That's my question.
Because our officers also have a public safety mission. We would probably be having a different call discussion if the car was stolen. Are you saying that law enforcement should not handle stolen vehicles? What are you?
No, you're right. No, that's correct. That is correct, because that's the way the government is divided, Scott. Your authority is federal and national. Is interstate commerce and maritime. In other words, over the seas and anything touching between interstate commerce.
Mission, David.
Well,
we're here to provide value to the people of Tennessee Valley and ensure their safety. In addition, what we do that through economic development. We do that through environmental stewardship, and we do that for producing energy. TVA has about 11,000 miles of shoreline in their system, and that comes out to be about $12 billion to the economic value of the Tennessee Valley. So in essence, that's about $1 million a shoreline mile, just on the river system itself. In addition, last year, TVA on the economic development side brought in about $8.3 billion in capital investment and about 72,000 jobs. So TVA provides a tremendous value to the people of the Tennessee Valley.
That's just tremendous, Scott. We're excited to hear that, and my listeners are very glad to hear about that. And we know that we have cheap rates. We have rates subsidized not by Congress, but by
two-thirds of America pays more for electricity, your residents, than the folks here in the Tennessee Valley.
Well, the question,
that's due to the hard work of the people of the Tennessee Valley, who over the last 3 years have driven out $800 million in cost out of the business. So the effective rate has been going down. We are the lowest industrial rate for electricity amongst our peers in the Southeast. So tremendous things are going on here in the Valley.
Let me ask you this.
Very exciting.
It is very exciting. I'm so glad to hear about this. And my listener is too, because we are here at Nooga Radio, Scott, all for free market economic development. And the concern that we have is for the stability of law and the proper place of law. Let's say let's say Scott Fiedler, a TVA spokesman, I came into your house and your 8-year-old son was acting up in a visit between my family and yours and maybe some other people. And I say, that kid just needs some discipline. So I take him back to the back bedroom and spank him, as would be done in my house if there was a child disobeying or acting in some way deserving of corporal punishment. And then he's all set. We come out and everything's in place. Well, you would say, David Tulis, you're wrong to discipline my child. I'm here. I'm the one in authority. And that's the same question we have here, Scott Fiedler. There is authority from the state to enforce commerce in Title 55 and other provisions. And people, of course, they're subject to that enforcement, even if they're private travelers. But here we have a federal utility with maritime jurisdiction doing the same thing. Is that by agreement or contract?
It's a public safety mission.
Yeah, but where's the delegated authority? From whom was there delegated authority for Officer Stone, Saturday to arrest that family? Where did he get that authority? Is it by delegation, contract,
Saturday,
agreement?
He identified a vehicle that had a tag that was not not supposed to be on that vehicle, and
was he running an LPR?
He needed.
Was he running a license?
To look into it.
Was he running a license plate reader? To catch
yes,
that?
they are federal law enforcement officers.
So he is running a license plate reader, an automated.
Pulled it over. He determined that after speaking to the folks that there was a mix-up, and the car went on its way.
All right, let's ask about two things, Scott Fiedler. LPR is license plate reader.
I'm going to have, since this wasn't a pre-scheduled call, I'm going to have to go now because I have another meeting.
Yes, sir.
But I really appreciate talking to you about this important issue,
yes,
how
sir.
TVA adds value to the Tennessee Valley, not only from a public safety mission, but also through our energy, economic development, and also environmental stewardship.
Scott Fiedler, thanks
I really appreciate it today.
Thank you so much, Scott Fiedler.
And have a great day.
Yes, sir. You too. Thanks. Scott Fiedler is the spokesman for Tennessee Valley Authority and a very gracious man to give us his time to explain what happened and to explain our report. So we have two remarkable things from that interview with Scott Fiedler, the Tennessee Valley Authority spokesman whose office is here in Chattanooga. And number one is the federal government is using LPRs, license plate readers, to sniff out traffic, commercial traffic on the highway, and it's doing that in unmarked cars. There is a problem there as well. The fact that the car is unmarked deprives the public of due notice, and due notice is important. For example, we know that due notice is important because the Chattanooga Police Department, which in many ways operates according to the law, has a notice at the similar interceptor at the intersection of Highway 153 and Hickson Pike puts up a sign. He puts up an orange sign warning travelers and operators of motor vehicles who are passing by that there is a speed detection device in operation. So make sure you're slowing down. There's due notice. The due notice. So we have that. We have that here. There's no due notice when the car is disguised as a private car. You could say it's a car that's unmarked, a cruiser unmarked. Notice is also given in roadblocks in Tennessee. Roadblocks are unconstitutional, but the Tennessee Supreme Court allows roadblocks to operate under limited circumstances. Well, they're not limited, but they are controlled, not by law, but by opinion. Here we have now government by opinion, and the rules, they're the Hicks and Downey rules, as they're called, require that a roadblock have a notice so that a person who does not want to go through the roadblock can escape, and that's called the escape notice. And often that's right at the very point, the last turnoff road before a roadblock. Just before that road, there's a sign that says roadblock ahead. When you see a sign that says roadblock ahead, you better take the turn immediately if you don't want to go through it. There's no second off road because that sign is placed right in front of the road that is the last and only turnoff if you wish to avoid the roadblock. And that's called notice. And that is to avoid what the Tennessee Supreme Court in the Hicks case says is undue alarm and panic and fear among members of the public. It is a kind of terrorism. The court wants to avoid the terror of the members of the public. Now, what happens when you have unmarked police cars? This is a developing story, and we alone here have it. That's David Tulis here. I do thank you for joining me. We were talking with Scott Fiedler, the spokesman for TVA, and he says that the traffic stop just across the dam Saturday, it was not there was no citation given, and he says it was not an arrest, though it was in fact an arrest. An arrest is when you are stopped and not free to leave. So he says my story at Nooganomics is inaccurate. Make sure you go to Nooganomics.com, and the revision will be made probably at the end of the program today. I'm not sure I don't think I made any mistake in the story, but we're going to hear in just a minute a little bit more about this, my initial call. And I think here an important point to consider is that the question that the journalist asked, if he's a godly man, if he cares about truth, he cares about justice, and if he knows something, the question is often better than the answer. And Scott Fiedler did very well in this interview. I must say he earned his pay today, because he went on the offensive, and that's very, very good to go on the offensive with the media. Just learn from him how to deal with the media. Media often is very annoying people who misquote you, right? I've misquoted people before as a reporter, and no doubt I'll do it again. But I have recording devices now that make it easier to have accurate accounting of people's words. But he went on the offensive. He said, look at all the value TVA gives. This, of course, is a distraction. It is a distraction, because what we have in the law is protection from the law. We have in the law protection from the abusive use of the law. And Scott Fiedler makes much of the ideas that, well, we're here to provide economic development, and our rates are lower than rates anywhere else in the country. These are all true and good things. They are wonderful things to hear. But let's not lose sight, as we're supposed to. Let's not lose sight of the real issue, and that is that while Tennessee officers don't use LPRs, license plate readers, the feds are doing it, and they're sniffing out traffic. Now, of course, this opens the question about traffic versus traveling, and I'm afraid we're going to have to get into this more. Maybe not right now, but the issue is the free use of the roads. I'm the reporter in Tennessee who covers this issue unlike any other media platform. And if you want to find out what the issue is and how it's a liberty issue and how Christian people should have a stake in this liberty, make sure you go to Nooganomics.com, our chief sponsor. That's Nooganomics.com. The headline at Nooganomics.com with photographs of Officer Scott E. Stone stopping this family along the side of the road as TVA arrests family in traffic stop as agency claims total Tennessee jurisdiction. And that is an accurate headline. And it is an arrest. Okay, it is an arrest. Though the people were not taken before the magistrate. They were not even required to sign the form saying that they would be showing up to face charges in one court or another. The question I asked Saturday was, well, how is traveling and traffic a federal issue? Does U.S. District Court have traffic court? Well, no, of course it doesn't. What happens, though, is that TVA, by some agreement or delegation of authority, some contract, perhaps some covenant with the Chattanooga Police Department or the Sheriff's Department, serves as a stand-in, serves as a proxy law enforcement public safety issue. Now, public safety is not an issue anywhere except over transportation. Now, transportation is, of course, the commerce of using the public right-of-way, the highways, for profit. And that is what the Tennessee Code, annotated Title 55, covers. The driver's license code, the whole code on rules of the road, covers one thing, and that is commerce. And we all agree to obey these rules because we're all licensees. We've all accepted the luring promise of being licensees in commerce with a driver license and public safety in view. We're all entering into the public safety realm, and we're all entering into transportation. Now, there is a kind of presupposition there that you are, in fact, transporting people when you're driving or traveling down the road. Driving is the act of transporting goods or people for hire. Right? Traveling using a car is a private activity not subject to regulation. And that is the argument that Jay Hirsch made Tuesday last week, 6 days ago in Nashville. To find out more about that remarkable case, you can read about it at Nooganomics.com and read the issues that are raised about a constitutional right given by whom? Given by God. To whom? Every individual who cares about it and who wants to defend it and to maintain it. Probably among the traveling public, Mexicans and Hispanics and Guatemalans, these are the people who most likely travel freely on the public right away, apart from regulation. They're not involved in a regulable activity. That's why they don't have driver's licenses. But many of them don't know that they're exercising freedom. They just live in fear of the officer. That traditional Latin problem of living in fear of the officer and of the government. And, well, I hope we're not going in that direction of being a banana republic. David Tulis, New Radio.